The following program is the work of broadcast students from the British Columbia Institute of Technology. BCIT magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland which were produced over the past week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their instructors.
Today on BCIT magazine, a new budget policy has some students wishing the change had come sooner.
The Premier reveals her government's child care strategy.
While residents at a Burnaby apartment are left homeless after a fire. Hello and welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Matthew Lee.
And I'm Thorstan Gerlach. While British Columbians head to the polls this May, and earlier this week, the BC Liberals released their 2013 provincial budget. Income taxes will rise for middle and high-income families, and those households earning $150,000 or over will see their taxes go up by 2%. The hike will only last 2 years, but as expected, it was a lean budget. British Columbians head to the poll this May. Our reporter Colin Nordin joins us live now with more details. Colin, there's been plenty of talk about the Liberals' budget. What parts are people happy about?
Well, Thorstan, as you said, the budget was slim, but Mike de Jong did include some pre-election goodies in line with his party's Families First agenda. First, the province announced it will be implementing the BC Training and Education Savings Grant, a one-time $1,200 grant towards the Registered Education Savings Plan for children born on or after January 1st, 2007. Second, in 2015, the province aims to introduce a new tax benefit of up to $55 per month per child for families earning less than $100,000 for early childhood education. And third, the budget outlines a $20 million injection to expand commercial greenhouse operations across the province. Thorstan?
Well, Connor, no budget comes without its critics. What are analysts saying about it?
There are a few questionable moves, according to some pundits. To balance the budget, de Jong had to announce that 16 government properties would be up for sale, providing roughly $260 million in revenue. One criticism came from Jim Sinclair, president of the BC Federation of Labor. He left this comment on Twitter. It was a budget balance by selling assets. That's like me selling my house to balance my checkbooks. Also, MSP premiums will rise by about 4%, but generic drug prices will drop 25% below that of brand name drugs by April of this year, with another 20% drop expected by April 2014. Back to you.
Thanks. And as we've already heard from Connor, in hopes of encouraging parents to start RESP accounts for their child's education, the BC government will deposit $1,200 directly into the account for every child born after 2007. We asked students at BCIT what they thought of this change.
My grandma was able to help me pay for a lot, but if that hadn't have been the case, I know my parents would have had to come up with a way to maybe supplement it, or I would have had to take out huge student loans.
Most people go to school, they don't end up paying $1,200, they end up paying $12,000 or even more than that. So it's a good start, but it's not really enough.
I think this is a really good opportunity for these families to start an education fund for their kids, and so everyone gets educated.
The government will also provide $76 million over 3 years for child care and additional tax relief. These changes will start in 2015. And it's also been a busy week for the Premier. A day after the BC Liberals released their budget, Christy Clark revealed her government's child care strategy. My co-anchor Thorstan Gerlach filed this report.
Fresh off the heels of tabling her government's budget, Premier Christy Clark was out promoting it, stopping by a Vancouver daycare to reveal BC's early years strategy.
We are increasing our spending on the early years services by $76 million in the first 3 years of the strategy.
A majority of this money won't be spent for a number of years, and it remains unclear what exactly that money will be spent on.
We would have liked to see something immediate for families. There's nothing that we heard today that has an immediate impact for kids and families. There's talk about a plan, there's talk about a strategy. We haven't heard anything immediate.
Liberal MLA Stephanie Cadeau says the money will be spent where it's needed most.
What we're going to do is start with a focus on ensuring that we are looking at providing spaces where they're needed.
The NDP have criticized the BC Liberals' budget as deceptive, but Clark insists her budget is balanced, and she believes a $76 million strategy is a step in the right direction.
I hear about the demands of childcare, about the need to make sure that childcare is accessible, that it is affordable, and that it provides the quality that parents expect from it.
Menzer, however, is skeptical this is enough.
It's not a lot of money. I mean, every dollar does make a difference for kids and families, but we don't know exactly where that money is going to be going.
Oh, my tummy hurts. I ate too much candy.
According to polls, the BC Liberals are running well behind the opposition New Democrats. Thorstan Gerlach in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
5 to studio.
Residents of a Burnaby apartment building have lost everything after a 3-alarm fire ripped through the 35-suite complex. However, as Janella Hamilton found out, some Greenacre tenants believe the fire could have been avoided altogether.
Tenants observed the large piles of remains that they once called home. Over 24 hours after the massive blaze broke out, firefighters continue to comb through rubble. Officials have not confirmed the source of the fire, but many residents say the building was poorly maintained.
Our smoke alarms did not go off, and I have not heard anybody else who said their smoke alarm was working.
Even in my basement where the stuff was, like, that wiring is scary. Like, every time you go down there, you're like, God, this is old. Like, there's definitely faults with the wiring, for sure.
As far as I'm concerned, it was a slumlord-run building that we had taken to court for residential tenancy many times, called inspectors many times.
Following the fire, the government provided 72 hours of accommodations for victims at a local hotel. Burnaby fire officials are saying 35 families are left homeless after the fire. Victims of the fire received help to determine their next steps.
We gave the evacuees some information on what resources were available for them for this recovery phase of their incident, and then we broke out into small interviews to assess the needs of each of the evacuees.
Officials say the building is unsafe and will be torn down, forcing over 100 people to find a new home within a matter of days. Janella Hamilton in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
Coming up next on BCIT Magazine, a week-long event at BCIT helps students relax. And a man breaks an all-time record for blood donation.
This is me. And my mom and dad. And my big brother Alex. And Jack. This is the day I learned that sandals got their name from sand. That jellyfish aren't made of jelly. That stars don't just come from the sky. That the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget I was sick. This was my wish.
Welcome back to BCIT Magazine. BCIT President Don Wright surprised many last week when he announced his sudden resignation. This move comes after he was appointed to be the next deputy minister if the NDP wins the May election. Don Wright joins my co-anchor Matt Lee to discuss the role he leaves behind, as well as his new career move.
Yes. Thank you very much, Thorstan. We are joined right now by the soon-to-be former president of BCIT, Don Wright. Don, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Don, I have to ask from the start here, Adrian Dix says that you were his first choice to become deputy minister of the BC government if the NDP wins the provincial election in May. I have to ask how you came to this decision.
Well, we had discussions at the end of last year, and I thought long and hard about it. I've had a fabulous 5 years at BCIT. I've told a number of people this has been the best job of my career, and I sincerely mean that. Having said that, most of my career has been spent in the public service in BC and Saskatchewan. I have a strong belief about the importance of the public service to a well-functioning democracy, and I think I can make a contribution by heading up the public service in BC. So after much agonizing, I decided to give it a go.
And you say this was the best job you've had in your career, but why risk it for something that you may not possibly have in May?
Well, you have to be prepared to take risks in life, and it's something that I feel strongly about, and it seemed to me to be a risk worth taking.
And I guess that speaks to your confidence that the NDP will win this election?
Well, I don't make any presumption about how the people will decide on May 14th. I mean, in a democracy, you just have to accept what the people decide. So I make no presumption about that, but I need to be ready in case the NDP are elected, and that's why I'm taking the decision to step down now.
And Don, I want to ask about the state of BCIT as you leave it. What were some of the things that you began here that you'd like to see continued after you're gone?
Yeah. Well, I think the primary thing I did at BCIT is I got people to recommit to what I think is our fundamental mission, which is to be integral to the prosperity of British Columbia. And we do that primarily by providing our students with the tools to be productive and to have rewarding careers. And that's a good spot for this institution to be, and I think we got a recommitment to that, and now I think we just need to keep that direction going forward.
Okay, and my last question for you, Don. Should the NDP fail to win the provincial election in May, what will you be doing?
I guess I'll be looking for another job.
Okay. We're talking to President Don Wright and possibly the next Deputy Minister of British Columbia. Don, thank you for joining us and good luck on your next career venture.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Back to you, Thorstan.
Also at BCIT, students can vote online to decide whether or not to continue the UPass program for the next 3 years. As my co-anchor Matt Lee reports, the initial reaction from students suggests they're still divided when it comes to this controversial program.
Depending how students use their UPass, the ongoing referendum to decide its fate could save them money in potential transit fees or cost hundreds of dollars for something they'll never use. Until February 24th, BCIT students can vote online to decide if the program should continue or be scrapped.
The more the better. We don't care if people are voting for it or against it, we just want them to come out and vote. We're hoping to get at least 50%, but ideally we'll have it much higher than that.
Currently, students pay $30 a month in UPass fees. If the vote to keep the program passes, that price will increase to $35 this May and to $36.75 in 2014. The following year, the price will jump again to $38. Over that 3-year period, it will cost students an extra $79 per semester. But for students using transit to get to and from BCIT, that's a steal compared to the retail price of an adult pass. Those monthly passes range from $91 for one-zone travelers to $170 for a 3-zone pass. No UPass program would mean transit users pay an extra $55 to $135 a month.
If I weren't to have a UPass, I would be driving, so I'd be paying a lot for gas and then also parking. So I'm saving quite a lot taking transit with the UPass.
But it's the students who drive to work every day and never use their UPass that may prevent the program from continuing.
Well, I never use it. I mean, unless I take the SkyTrain downtown, which is maybe like once every couple of months. I pretty much drive everywhere anyways.
Whichever way the UPass vote swings, there's a guarantee that one side of the student body won't be pleased. In this case, one person's savings comes at another person's expense. Matt Lee in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
This year, 10 schools in Metro Vancouver participated in the UPass programs. So far, UBC, SFU, and Vancouver Community College have voted in favor of keeping the UPass. BCIT has been a part of the UPass program for the last 2 years.
A Fraser Health representative says services geared at de-stressing students is a great way to improve mental health. As Janella Hamilton finds out, BCIT's week-long Speak Up, Speak Out event does just that.
That's Harvey.
Harley.
Harvey.
Oh, Harvey.
Yeah.
For Aiden Scott, playing with these puppies is more than just fun. It has therapeutic value.
My parents did get divorced at age 8, and my mom, frankly, didn't cope with it very well. She started to use me as an outlet to fill the void that the lack of a husband created. And what began with physical abuse led to sexual abuse, and it went on for 8 years.
25-year-old Scott suffered anxiety, depression, and eating disorders most of his life. It wasn't until he told a friend his secret that things started to change.
I felt hopeless, I felt confused, and I felt trapped in my life. And I didn't have a way out.
At BCIT's Speak Up, Speak Out event, students stepped away from studying and enjoyed a free massage, petting puppies, and playing games. It was all aimed at improving mental health.
Speak Up, Speak Out campaign was designed to kind of raise awareness about mental health issues and mental illness, and to provide a forum for students to dialogue and to try to reduce stigma, because there's just obviously a lot of stigma around the topic.
Scott says he wishes services like these were available during his dark times.
Great strides have been made in really the last 10 years, and week-long events like this, that's the difference maker.
Organizers say they were almost overwhelmed with the huge turnout this year. They are already planning new ideas for next year to accommodate more people. Janella Hamilton in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
Well, gathering the courage to donate blood can be difficult for many, but one man has beat BC's record for blood donation. What's unique about this is that the previous record was held by his late father. Sana Ranquillo reports.
Here you go.
Neil Bernstein is going through the routine screening test before he donates blood. But today is different because he has surpassed his goal of 532 personal donations.
Thank you. To be honest, I thought we'd have maybe 40, 50 at best and try and get that number, but we ended up with 181 people involved in the group.
His father, Frank Bernstein, was the previous blood donating champion who died of cancer in 2011.
He had a lot of passion for, number one, Canadian Blood Services. I believe it was because of the cookies and all the nurses.
In January last year, Bernstein joined Partners for Life and started the In Honor campaign. It was in hopes of breaking his dad's record. Less than 1 year later, Bernstein has single-handedly brought in 641 donations. But he wasn't always this comfortable around needles.
Well, when I first came in, the first time I did it, it was kind of tingly all over and lightheaded, and after that, it was a breeze.
Campaigners and the Blood Services hope Bernstein's accomplishment will inspire people to give blood.
I just want everybody to see that it can be done, and it's an hour of your time, and it makes all the difference in the world.
Stop thinking about it. I did that for far too long. It's very important because you're saving people's lives.
Next year's goal is to match or exceed this year's donations.
Can I give you a kiss?
Sana Ranquillo in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Coming up next on BCIT Magazine, a Vancouver school is making big steps to reduce its environmental footprint. And a new exhibit is exploring the art of love making.
They say if you want a wish to come true, never tell anyone. But there is one wish that can make the difference between life and death. And this wish can only come true if you tell someone. Please, let your family know you want to be an organ donor.
Standby graphics, ready camera one.
If you want to experience the fast-paced world of news.
Today on BCIT Magazine, striking.
Make magic on a movie set.
Frame.
And action. Or bring your creative ideas to life. BCIT's hands-on training will get you started. BCIT Television and Video Production. Your possibilities start here.
I'm Christina Jung, and this is your community calendar for BCIT Magazine. Ever wonder about the mysterious creature that rules the ocean? Come check out Vancouver Aquarium's The Secret World of Sharks and Rays, open now till April 30th. Dive deep into the ocean to find out the sharks' hunting strategy, survival techniques, and even things that threaten them. It's open every day from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. For more information, visit vanaqua.org. If underwater education isn't your thing, head to the Museum of Vancouver for Design Sunday's Upcycled Urbanism. Let your creative juices flow as you participate in design projects that empower you to reimagine Vancouver, and get some hands-on experience by designing and building prototypes with material salvaged from the Portman Bridge. Workshops run every Sunday all through March from 2 to 4. For more information, visit museumofvancouver.com. Used up all your brain power? Grab a glass of wine or two at the Vancouver Wine Festival. Vendors from all over the world will be set up at the Vancouver Convention Centre starting February 25th all the way to March 3rd. To purchase a ticket or to learn more about the event, go to playhousewinefest.com. That's your community calendar for BCIT Magazine. I'm Christina Jung. Cheers.
Some people call the students of this next school green junkies. Windermere Secondary in Vancouver is doing what it can to make it greener within its walls. But as I discovered, it's what's happening outside that's getting people talking.
This drain is a smaller part of this, an aquaponics system, which along with this composting tub can be found here, right in the middle of Windermere Secondary School.
We started a compost program at the school. It's quite extensive. We collect compost from the cafeteria, but also from all over the school, teachers' classrooms. As we got bigger and more students involved, we saw Vancouver Foundation was offering some grants, and then the Greener City grants came along, and that allowed us to expand and build a greenhouse.
The fruits of Castillo's labor were given a boost when the city and the Vancouver Foundation teamed up to hand out grant funds for those who helped make the city greener.
So some really cool stuff being done by young people, high school and university students across the city, showing off their ideas.
Castillo showed off some ideas he and his students have brought to life.
Really what we got going on in here mostly is the aquaponics system. So this was built about 4 years ago. There's a fully contained cycle here, the water, there's fish down there, and the fish feces, the fish poo, basically gets broken down by bacteria in the water, and then the water gets pumped up, filters down, so all those nutrients eventually come down into the beds, and then you can grow food in here.
Windermere is one of only 4 schools in Vancouver which has a composting system like the Earth Tub. Castillo says once the fruits and vegetables have grown come spring, they will be given to the school cafeteria. Thorstan Gerlach in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Well, there's a lot to think about these days when it comes to your food. Terms like organic, pesticide-free, locally grown, all slapped on items to make them more appealing to consumers. But as Connor Denoon found out, there's one Vancouver school that's keeping food simple by growing their own for students to eat.
These students at Gladstone Secondary already grow some of their food served for lunch in the cafeteria. But after winning $50,000 from the Aviva Community Fund, they'll be able to grow fruits and veggies all year long in a permanent greenhouse.
We have over 30 kids in the garden club, and those kids they love the gardening, and it's a real kind of outlet for them. And we were just looking at that, and it finishes around about the end of October, beginning November. They still continue indoors a bit, but it's not so busy, and then it tends to tail off a wee bit. So the idea of continuing that as long as possible through the, extending the growing season for the Gladstone kitchen, so that we can all enjoy a nice bit of lettuce in our sandwiches.
McCallion spearheaded the application to Aviva and submitted a video to the Community Fund.
The ship arrives in Vancouver Port. In Vancouver, people...
This is Gladstone's winning video, and it features a young girl drawing and explaining how apples from New Zealand are trucked, put on a freighter, unloaded, trucked, and finally enjoyed by the students at Gladstone, and begs their winning question.
But why not grow them at Gladstone?
When construction begins later this summer, the greenhouse will go here in this courtyard surrounded by the school, and everything will wrap up by the fall of 2013. You can already see some temporary greenhouses set up by the garden club, but once they're permanent greenhouses here, it'll be about half the size of a swimming pool and will turn into a community garden in the summer. Connor Denoon in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
Vancouver City Council and the Vancouver Foundation have announced the names of the 17 recipients of the Greenest City Fund. The fund is a $4 million community grant which is geared to help Vancouver become the greenest city by 2020.
A new exhibit at the Vancouver Museum is arousing interest. Alyssa Bauer explains.
In this art exhibit, no drawer goes unopened. Sex Talk in the City is the museum's newest attraction, exploring both the history and future of human sexuality.
The exhibition was put together with an advisory group of 19 people. Hearing all of these different talking points and viewpoints from people, you get a much richer experience because of that. You know, there's so many conversations around sex and sexuality that we don't really have, because the exhibitions that are made, say at science centers, they're more about the actual biological aspects of sex. The museum's new mandate is to explore contemporary issues and lead provocative conversations. It's certainly an opportunity for parents or even older siblings to bring people through and just sort of ignite that conversation. It's really good, you know, you're both looking at something, so you can talk about that thing, which makes it a little less awkward.
There's one conversation in particular the exhibit hopes to spark, that of sexual education in today's society.
The exhibition is broken up into roughly 3 sections: the classroom, the bedroom, and the street. So in the classroom section, one of the things that it explores is the amount of sex education that students actually get. So the Vancouver School Board was involved in terms of coming to the actual advisory committee meetings. They gave us the context really for what has sex education been in Vancouver, what is it like, and what are the hours that are really being put in. The number one thing that we hope people will take away from coming to this exhibition is feeling permission to be able to talk about things that are happening, just being able to open those doors to those conversations.
The exhibit runs until September 2nd and is sure to leave visitors with a greater knowledge of Vancouver's sexual history and perhaps even their own sexual desires. Alyssa Bauer in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
If you have any questions or comments regarding this program, please visit us online at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitbroadcastnews.ca. I'm Matt Lee.
And I'm Thorstan Gerlach. And that's today's BCIT Magazine. We'll leave you now with our own version of a YouTube trend. Thanks for watching.
Shuffle some papers.
Harlem Shake.